On the morning of September 1st, 1939, German forces began advancing deep into Poland, aiming for a swift and decisive victory. Yet only 20 years earlier, in November 1918, these same soldiers were returning home. This time, as a defeated army. 4 years of the First World War had come to an end. Germany's Emperor, Wilhelm II, had been forced to abdicate. Relentless offensives by British, French, and American forces had worn down the German army. The civilian population, meanwhile, was facing starvation. But in the aftermath of defeat, a dangerous myth was born in Germany. Some generals and soldiers claimed that the army had not been defeated on the battlefield. According to them, Germany had not been beaten at the front, but stabbed in the back by weak and cowardly politicians at home. On the morning of November 11th, 1918, at exactly 11 a.m., the 11th day of the 11th month, at the 11th hour, the First World War officially came to an end. 1 month later, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson arrived in Europe. He promised a new world order. In Wilson's vision, international disputes would no longer be resolved by weapons, but through negotiation. This idea became the foundation of the League of Nations. It was formally accepted with the Treaty of Versailles. Europe's map was redrawn. Many peoples gained independence. Germany's ally, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was dismantled. From its ruins, new states emerged: Austria, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia. In the Baltic region, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania were established. Germany, however, paid a heavy price. It suffered severe territorial losses, and this new order carried within it the seeds of a future crisis. In countries like Czechoslovakia, in particular, there were significant German minorities. One day, the desire to unite these communities would shake Europe once again. The German people, exhausted by war, now faced heavy reparations. Germany was forced to pay a total of 132 billion gold marks to France and Britain for a country whose economy had collapsed. This burden was nearly impossible. Meanwhile, Wilson returned to the United States, but the world order he envisioned quickly unraveled. The U.S. Congress refused to join the League of Nations. America, once again, turned inward. Germany, however, had undergone a profound transformation. The military monarchy had fallen. In its place, a democracy known as the Weimar Republic had been established. But this new system was shaken by crisis from the very beginning. The streets became scenes of violent clashes between far-right nationalists and communist groups. In 1923, Germany faced one of the most devastating economic disasters in history. Hyperinflation spiraled out of control. Prices multiplied within weeks. People's savings were completely wiped out. This chaos created fertile ground for radical politicians. One of them was Adolf Hitler. Born in Austria, Hitler had served in the German army during the First World War. He had been awarded the Iron Cross. After the war, he settled in Munich, thanks to his powerful oratory. He took control of a small political movement, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. In October 1923, Hitler and his close associates attempted an armed coup against the Weimar government. The attempt failed. Hitler was arrested. In prison, he wrote a book titled Mein Kampf. In it, he portrayed Jews as the source of Germany's problems. He also argued that Germany must regain its strength and expand eastward. After his release, Hitler changed strategy. He transformed the Nazis into a disciplined mass political party. This time, he aimed to seize power through democratic means. Between 1924 and 1929, Germany experienced an economic recovery. Support for extremist parties declined. But in October 1929, the U.S. stock market collapsed. The world plunged into the Great Depression. In Germany, unemployment rose above 6 million. Mainstream political parties failed to provide solutions. Radical leaders regained momentum. By 1931, the Nazi Party had big streets. In the 1932 elections, the Nazis became the largest party in the Reichstag. When no government could be formed, President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Hitler as chancellor in January 1933. In February 1933, the Reichstag building burned. Hitler blamed the communists. He demanded emergency powers. With these powers, he silenced all opposition. In August 1934, Hindenburg died. Hitler merged the offices of president and chancellor. He proclaimed himself Führer. In the early years, Hitler presented himself as a leader focused on economic recovery. Highways were built. Major public works projects were launched. Unemployment fell, but behind the scenes, the Treaty of Versailles was being openly violated. A massive rearmament program was underway. In 1935, the Luftwaffe was officially announced. Germany now possessed a modern air force. The army expanded rapidly. Public support grew. Hitler first reclaimed the Saar region. Then, in 1936, he remilitarized the demilitarized Rhineland. Britain and France did not intervene. During the 1936 Berlin Olympics, the Nazi regime presented itself to the world as strong yet peaceful. But at the same time, persecution of Jews intensified. The 1935 Nuremberg Laws stripped Jews of citizenship and banned marriage between Jews and Germans. Germany was not the only threat to world peace. Japan was pursuing an expansionist policy in Asia. In 1931, it invaded Manchuria. In 1937, it launched a full-scale war against China. In Nanjing, hundreds of thousands of civilians were massacred. The League of Nations remained silent. Western powers avoided intervention. The same was true when Italy invaded Ethiopia in 1935. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War erupted. Germany and Italy supported General Franco. Britain and France remained neutral. For Hitler, this war was a testing ground for his army, his weapons, his tactics. In 1938, Germany annexed Austria. Then, attention turned to Czechoslovakia. The Sudetenland was targeted. With the Munich Agreement, Britain and France backed down. In 1939, Hitler occupied the rest of Czechoslovakia. Now the next target was Poland. Germany's demands were rejected. Britain and France guaranteed Poland's security. On August 23, 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union signed a non-aggression pact. Secret clauses outlined the division of Poland. On the night of August 31st, the German army was ready to strike, and the next morning, the world awoke to a new war.